at Coast to Coast AM and host of Dark Becomes Light podcast. I'm your host, Kevin.
And I'm your co-host, Brian.
You're now tuned in to Coder Conversations. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, Heidi.
Thank you guys. It's awesome to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Yeah, you have an extremely interesting background. I remember Coast to Coast from being affiliated with Art Bell, and it kind of talked about topics a lot of radio stations didn't necessarily talk about. So
yeah, it's still in the top 10 podcasts out there, but I'm doing other things still too, and just having a good old time. But how I got associated, I was in college, and I wrote my first book. And that is the book that introduced shadow people and the Hatman to the world before anybody knew those words. And people are like, no, I'm pretty sure it wasn't you. I'm like, check the copyright. Like, check the trademark that people abuse, I mean, it's like, I'm not making this stuff up. I wrote that book a long time ago. And, I'm thinking when I'm writing this, when you name like your teddy bear or something, it's like, so this is a nightmare I named, and you put it in the book and you don't know if it'll catch on. I call them shadow people, and there's a head and shoulder shadow. There's the Hatman shadow. That's what I called them originally, Hatman shadow. And it never was something I was certain would ever become, anything. And
Sure.
I got the opportunity. I went on another radio show first called Sightings. That was Jeff Rentz who was hosting. He was like the one competitor to Coast back then. And I got on there, and I couldn't directly call it shadow people at the time. That's a whole other story. But I said there's something out there. I can't name it right now because it wasn't safe for me to do that until the book is out. I wrote the book in '97. And it took 4 years to find a publisher.
Wow.
So it had been spread to all these different people. Only people that would publish a book like this were other authors in the same space. So they all had a copy. And I'm like, well, somebody published this. Do you know who was about to publish it? David Icke.
Really?
You guys know who David Icke? He was the one that was about to publish it. And you'll find he still has my interview that I did on Jeff Rentz on his old website. Like, they absolutely like typed it all out and everything. And he contacted me. I was dying. I was like, what? Heck yeah. But then it fell through. I don't know what happened.
But, a lot of stuff that he said has come true.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. And so he saw something, some parallels with the stuff I was talking about. So anyway, so I got that chance, and then I was like, can I get on Coast to Coast? I mean, good God, I would love to. And I got the opportunity to talk to one of their producers who, I almost had a heart attack. They put me on speakerphone, and all these producers were throwing all these questions at me to see if I could handle myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, okay. And they're like, well, you did pretty good. All right, you're on in 2 nights or something. And I'm like, two, what? And the show became one of their top most liked shows, and it repeated on their favorite liked shows within a week, and they kept asking me back. And so it's been a blessing. That's how I got started with Coast. Over 20 years cool. I've been with them, going back and forth. So it's cool.
That's awesome.
Amazing. Can you explain like the meaning behind the name of the podcast?
Dark Becomes Light. Well, it originally they wanted it to be called something about just everything being dark. And I'm like, dude, I talk about these things, but how you could come out of the dark, it's not about sitting and just being tortured and everything is like, I'm not the type of person to put a flashlight under my chin and go, boo, I'm hoping to bring people to understand you can beat this stuff. That's the whole point of my having talked about this. It's very much spiritual warfare. I get people are like, Heidi, did you know that these shadow people are like demons and they're connected to aliens? I'm like, dude, that's what I said from the very beginning in '97. What are you talking about? That people think you're schooling me. I'm like, this is old news. Yeah. We have a big problem. And I'm trying to get people to understand this is a spiritual battle. people are expecting to see a fight in the sky, and I'm like, the fight's going on in the privacy of your own bedroom.
Right.
And they don't believe in you as you're like, I just fought for my soul last night, and they're like, oh please, like you're crazy. And then it got so popular, the shadow people topic. The science had to respond. Oh, sleep paralysis. What? Sleep paralysis doesn't wear a hat and a coat. It just got to be a bit ridiculous. But so yeah, that's why I was like trying to tell people and let them know that they don't have to sit in the dark with this horrible stuff, and they could come out of it. And there's a way, and I've always talked about it, and I don't hold it back. Like, buy my book, you'll get the answer.
Right.
It's free on my website. I don't know the value, to put on a soul. Oh, the devil's trying to take my soul. Well, that'll be $10.99. Come on,
$10.99, please.
It's free right here. I've given thousands of books away for free, but this information that I know helps and works, I have it available on my website on the help section, HeidiHollis.com. And if people want to ask me something, same thing. So it's about trying to do the right thing for the best reasons. So.
Yeah, I think, a lot of these, even with aliens, people say they're aliens, but I really feel like they're demons or, spiritual entities. And, even with UFOs and alien abductions, they say like when you call Jesus, that makes them kind of back up. So
I've been talking about that forever too. Yeah. It's like, hold on. They use a ship. But if you say in Jesus' name, get out, they're like, oh Lord, and they tear out, what is that? What is that? What kind of alien can't handle the name of Jesus? It's so plain and simple. And it's like, it's crazy. When I first introduced like shadow people to the world, and, for people that are looking, that's this guy right there. And it shape shifts. And the ones that I had the most were shadow spiders. And there goes different forms of Hatman and the Grim Reaper looking dude. Okay. But when it comes to these different types of entities and their correlation to the UFO conversation, there's something that a lot of people, they like to put it in two different buckets. This over here is aliens. This over here is, oh, that's paranormal. I'm like, I had a UFO group for 15 years. I was not a ghost hunter. And I'm talking about shadow people and their connection to the whole alien conversation. And it was really difficult to get paranormal investigators to get what I was talking about. They're like, oh, Heidi, you're just seeing the shadows of ghosts. I'm like, then you haven't met a shadow being yet. Right. And slowly but surely they're like, oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about. They have glowing red eyes and you feel like your soul's going to be snatched out. Yeah, that's them. You met them now. But then it just got taken over. Like, this is paranormal. It's not in the UFO category. And I'm like, what do aliens do to people? They come in the room, usually at nighttime, paralyze you. And then they're like, sometimes give you nightmares and they say, got you now. I'm like, hold up. What do shadow people do? Come usually at night, paralyze you, give you nightmares, got you now. They go so hand in hand, and they're seen right alongside of each other. That's another thing people don't talk about. Hatman, gray alien, shadow people. And these same types of things happen to the same people. And now the information that I learned about them and where it came from a non-human type of being that it's quite a story. But and it told me what we're dealing with these types of grays, like what connects them. You got grays, you got reptilians, you got Nordics. They're all doing similar stuff, but in different ways. What's the connecting factor? And I was told by this more positive being who spoke of God and to use Christ's name to get rid of these things, that these beings are essentially possessed by these shadow beings. So we're dealing with possessed alien beings. Imagine stepping out on the scene talking about that. People are like, oh Lord, this woman done lost her mind. Well, hello. It's all true. All these years later, and everybody that, when they listen to me about what was happening and how to address these things and how to get rid of them. And it worked. Then the tunes changed, so
Right.
yeah, it's a whole lot.
Like, did you have something to say, Brian?
Oh, and I was just going to say, how did you ultimately get into podcasting, broadcasting? Like, what did you go to college for it? Did you take any classes? Like, what was your prep
Yeah.
work on that?
Well, I'm an occupational therapist, believe it or not. So I'm an occupational therapist. And, for people who don't know, it's kind of like a combination of a speech pathologist and a physical therapist, trying to get people to be independent and get back to themselves after an injury or illness. So I actually went to school for that. I got really good at writing really fast during college because I would always forget that I had an assignment due and be like, oh, let me go home and get it. And I'd go to the library and just write it up real quick and bring it to class, So that's how I got fast in school with writing. But as far as the podcasting, it was, radio broadcasting. And it was wild because, here I had this one book published, The Secret War on the Shadow People. And I would be a guest on a show. And they'd usually would ask me at the end of it, like, you want to be my co-host?
Oh, wow.
Like, okay, and then it became, want your own show? Okay. And then it was like, wow, you launched 2 different phenomena. Want to come on this TV show? Want to be a co-host on this show? Yeah. So it just kind of kept going that way. And
like doors kept opening.
Yeah. It kept opening, and I kept practicing as a therapist. A lot of people think, oh, you can retire on that. I'm like, no, you keep your day job, and do what you love. I mean, do it for the right reasons because you're an experiencer. You want to help other people. You see the problem, and you're trying to bring some attention to it. So,
Yeah. So like, you speaking of the shadow people, I know even people like Aaron Rodgers, they've said they've seen like a similar entity or somebody who's had sleep paralysis. They see these kind of beings.
Yeah.
So it's like you do different things in life to open these spiritual doors, and that allows that entity to have some level of influence on your life.
Well, what's wild? 9 times out of 10, it's not what the person has done. I've had thousands of emails over the years and from around the world, putting it through Google Translate. What is that? I want to read it. What? And sometimes it's interesting to me how people can spot out, like, what? At the time, I was an alcoholic, or I was addicted to this, or, somebody, I was sick. And so people can tell what it was that attracted this thing, or they're around somebody that did a lot of bad stuff, or yeah, they went out in the middle of a cemetery and try to call something, something silly like that. But 9 times out of 10, it's not that. I get a lot of, my 5-year-old is seeing this, and what do I do? I'm a good Christian woman. Why me? And I'm like, it's not what you are doing. It is that you are capable. And usually the people that are gifted, they're artistic. They not like the telepathy tapes, like autistic. I'm talking about artsy, creative minded. These people seem to observe better than the next person. You know what I'm saying? To see in between the cracks, and like they're creating, they're taking it all in. And these are the people that tend to see these shadow and Hatman type creatures. And these things could see that you see them. I don't know how many paranormal shows that you've seen or heard the research. People are like, I saw the shadow being and it charged at me, or it took off. It is the shadow beings themselves usually try to get out of the way or try to scare you away. Hatman, he'll let you take a real good look. He wants you to know he saw you. And now that is so disturbing. And he'll step out from the shadows and he'll become solid. He's not a shadow being. I took him out of that category pretty early on, but people still call him shadow being. I'm like, oh God. But he's something different. He's something really dark and really different. So the people, 9 times out of 10, it's because we are evolving. And those people that are evolving are more sensitive and are seeing these things, and they want to stomp out your ability, and they try to crowd you and oppress you, possess you, so you don't look any further, try to control your future. And so you don't warn the next person, like, "Ooh, you got something nasty hanging over you," they'll drive a person to become depressed, to do awful things, not just to themselves, but to other people.
Yeah, I know, like, my sister, when she was in high school, that's back when, like, that movie The Craft came out.
Mm,
So she was messing around with, I forget what you call it, something light as a
Ouija board?
board. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
light it's a feather type of thing.
light as a feather or whatever. She was
Mhm.
doing that with some girls at a party, and then a couple weeks later, she said, like, she was seeing stuff, and she asked me to come in her room one night. She's like, "Look in the mirror
Mm,
and tell me what you see." I'm like, "Okay, like, what am I looking at?" Because she had a, remember that movie Cruel Intentions? She had a
yeah.
Cruel Intentions poster up, and looking at it through the mirror started to become a demon's face, and it got
Mm,
more and more real the longer you would look at it. So my dad had some kind of spiritual person come over, and they burned sage all over the house,
wow.
and it stopped. But this stuff is very real, is what I'm
Yeah.
getting at.
That's horrific. I feel terrible when I hear about that. Usually it goes after children. They're more vulnerable, and they try to get the children to get used to their presence, um, gain their trust, and really just horrible stories. And when I say they are abusive, they're nothing that you'll want to go looking for. Every level of abuse you can imagine beyond the island of Epstein, these things will do to a person, absolutely. And it's I don't even know how to tell people. It's like I just it's dark, and it is the demon of all demons is what Hatman is. That's this guy right here. That is the infamous drawing that I had my college roommate draw so many years ago that you'll see swiped all over the world. And it's like, what he is something that I would never want to wish on anybody. And when I say that, the way that he tries to gain control over a person is as heavy and as dark as you can imagine. People will often say, I was so terrified at him because he has no idea of personal space. He'll get within an inch of your nose, and then
Wow.
he'll smile like the Venom smile, the the character, and he'll just take his fist, like when you're just like, I give up. I can't handle this terror anymore. And he'll take his fist and punch it through your chest and pull your soul out, and then try to take you somewhere that isn't pleasant. I've only heard back from the survivors of that. Um, so he is the worst. And but you know what I try to tell people, especially those who are being terrorized frequently by shadow people or Hatman. I'm like, wow, who are you? Because obviously they are terrified that you become your full potential, that it takes a gang of them nightly or regularly to try to stomp out your light. And I'm like, I really want to know this person now because they're so bright. All the bugs in the hood are coming out.
Right.
I think it makes people feel better. It's not that you did something. It's just that you are so different and so bright. They want to control it.
There's like actually this video game on the Genesis. It's called Chakan, Chakan. It looks exactly like that drawing that you put.
Oh, another ripoff, is it?
Let me see if I can put this on the screen really quickly.
I haven't heard of that one.
Let's see.
What's that little thing called, a trademark or a copyright? People say, why did you do that and protect it? I said, why does Stan Lee protect Spider-Man? I didn't know you guys would want to, pay attention.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Let's
Even
see.
on Wikipedia, they just forgot to
Oh,
mention that
wow.
it's protected. Wow, that is crazy.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's kind of like people think this is not real, but like numerous people are seeing the same entity, so they're seeing the same spiritual being, and they're having experiences with it. I mean, like I believe even Aaron Rodgers said he's seeing, I don't know
Yeah.
whether it was a Hatman or a shadow being, but I think he was on some kind of hallucinogenic, and it
Hatman.
opens the door to. Oh, okay, yeah, exactly.
It was
They
Hatman, and he opened the door. He opened the door, and a lot of people run into this problem. It's like, ask and you shall receive. And I honestly
Yeah.
was trying to get a hold of him, like, dude, you need help. And it's not like I don't sit there and try to bless somebody's home. That generally doesn't work, honestly, as well as the person blessing their home for themselves. A lot of these people are like, I had to call a spiritualist, I had to come and get sage, and I'm like, all you needed was your own cross. I wear my cross necklace. And get holy water or spring water that you bless, have it in the sunlight for a couple hours, and go to each corner in your home and bless each corner. And it's much better than having others come in and do it for you. I mean, you're hiding behind their faith. Not
Right.
that man came for you, so you've got to take care of it.
I know these spiritual entities, they run at the name of Jesus. So I know,
Yeah.
like, if you do sage, you could probably bring them on more, because I know I've heard of people doing those kind of practices, and
Yep.
it's like a magnet to them. So
I tell people, unless you're native, this is part of your belief system, the sage works for that. But if you're somebody who's borrowing somebody else's faith, it does not work. So sage doesn't generally work. And I've heard some people say, oh, it didn't work for me. I'm like, you must have just had a passerby come through, because when Hatman is coming around, and I mean regularly, that is not going to work on him. It really takes a force greater than yourself. And I tell people, when I started this journey, I really wasn't on the Christian bandwagon. Like, I had experienced so many things for myself. I thought I saw and knew better. Jesus was just that historical figure written in that old book from way, you got to say your prayers in his name. I had to eat my words. I had to change my whole tune, because all of that time practicing to sit still in the church came in handy, because I had experiences that I can't, being so skeptical about it, about him showing up, Jesus showing up to people in their tree trunk to a bowl of soup or whatever it is. I'm like, come on, that's not real. Give me a break. I had seen so much, I would have seen him by now. I wrote that in my first book, The Secret War, bashing the idea that people saw Jesus. And before I put that book out, in the 4 years it took me to find a publisher, I had an experience. And when I say that, it wasn't something light. It was life-changing. And I wasn't a Bible thumper. I wasn't going to church. I was in college. I didn't pay attention to any of that. But it happened to me. And it happened to me several times. And I ended up writing a book about that. But I'm so grateful that it occurred, because it really gave me the ability to do what I do now. Talking about the modern day devil in the world today, Hatman and his minions, the shadow people. There's no way I'd be able to do it on my own. No way. So absolutely having that faith base, and I still am not a church goer. But I'm really solid in my belief system. And it took having these different kinds of experiences to have no doubts in where I stand, without, trying to just be as human as possible, and painfully honest about what it is I've experienced, and hoping that it helps people to understand it.
Have you ever heard of past life regression?
Yes.
Hypnosis? Yeah. So I got that done one time.
Ooh, did you?
And because some people can be hypnotized, other people can't. And the woman who was doing the hypnotizing, she said, "Yeah, I can't, but I find it very interesting when people can go under, because then she likes to kind of like control it." So she brought me like way, way back to the days of Jesus. I see
What?
Jesus and like it's a robe. I see pyramids in the background. I see in like an Egyptian guard. So I came out of that, and I wasn't like, she wasn't directing me, "Oh, do you see Jesus?" Or I wasn't saying to her, "Oh, bring me back in time so I can see Jesus."
Mm.
It just occurred. And then when I came out of it, I was like, wow, so he is real. It's like, it's not just some guy in a book.
Yeah.
Like it's a real spirit.
That's beautiful that you got to witness and bring that back with you. That's
100%.
amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
And like
It's changing. Mhm.
even if you look at the Epstein files, like the practices they're doing, it's explained by the Bible. Like you know, the Bible says like right now is a prince of this world. And even when Jesus was here, he fasted 40 days, 40 nights, and Satan said, if you bow down and worship me, I'll give you all the kingdoms of this earth. So, right now, Satan is the prince of this world. And if you look at these elites, they're, giving sacrifices and tributes to these different like entities, these different quote unquote gods, Baal, Moloch, etc. And, just like back then, they're sacrificing children, they get this blessing. And they're doing the same thing now. You read those files, they're doing those
Yeah.
practices, and they're unbelievably wealthy. So the spiritual world is bearing fruit, as you can see. Like,
Absolutely.
they're getting the blessing now, but in the end, obviously it's going to be destruction. But that just validates that this is not just, oh, that's the realm of craziness.
Right. Isn't it crazy to hear though, like when you hear people saying they worship Baal, this is the same Baal from when Moses took the
Yeah.
Jewish people out of Egypt. What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You guys have kept on worshiping after the man brought down the 10 commandments. Are you kidding me? Like they are still absolutely fighting the message. And that's what I tell people who are like, oh, it's so awful what's going on in the world today. Well, if God is real, why are horrible things still happening? I'm like, because we're still feeding the negative, the evil. Well, I wouldn't do that. But there are people that are so organized and doing this. And it's neat to see it come forward. But you've heard the whispers, and the person that was about to step forward, oh, they died just before they're about to come forward. What is this? Like
Right.
Yeah.
they have a lot of control in this planet. But they're not going to make it over to the next promised planet, the coming of the New Jerusalem type of thing. It's sad. And, I hinted about the beings, the more positive beings that myself and my college roommate had witnessed. And it was odd to see and hear a being talk about God and how Christ is who he said he is. And he's who we work for. And, again, I'm in college. My friend was Pentecostal. Didn't cut her hair, the big long skirts, so religious. And I was not. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she thought I was a devil worshiper. And then she had the incredible experience of this being coming to her. And then me witnessing it with her. And people are like, oh, Heidi, you're one of the top researchers in the shadow. I'm like, research? Who could research something that didn't have a name? They don't want to accept the fact I got this information from a being that didn't look human. But when I think of how he looked very much like a child. I don't know if it was like a cherubim, like the little tiny angel looking children. I don't know, but he did not look human. But the words, I had stepped away from church thinking, and I have this so-called alien being telling me, why did you stop praying? Christ is real. God is real. This is who we work for. You need to tell people about these beings that are here and how to say Jesus' name when you see these negative beings, how to address. I'm like, what? It was just so much. So yeah, people have been resistant to the truth the worshiping and nursing and feeding the evil that's here. This is why so many of us have been stuck and having the issues we do. But there is a good and positive side, and we just have to keep true to the old word that's been written in ancient texts for a long time called the Bible. It's real. It works.
No, yes, it's all happening live before our eyes. Like even it says, like, before the great and terrible day of the Lord, all the rich are gonna hide in the mountains. And what does all these rich people have now? They have these underground bunkers,
Yes.
and
Or they're heading out to New Zealand. They're buying property in New Zealand, getting the hell out of the US.
Painting their rooftops blue. How about that?
right.
What's that about? The Boring Company Elon Musk owns. What was Lifeboat of the Epstein? I'm like, I have met some of these people talk about their underground bunkers. I have met some of them.
Wow.
And I'm like, you think you're safe? That's hilarious. It's like, all right, sure, buddy. Okay, go for it. I don't understand. It's like, why can't you just, I don't know, be good and accept the coming that it comes? It's like, I don't know. It's sad that it's sad, but you know what? Why hide? It's because you have something to hide.
Yeah.
It's never pleasant to think about dying, but my goodness, this is a process that we have all gone through apparently in the past. And, as my dad would always say, you're not going to get out of this life alive. Well, you're onto something, Dad.
Yeah.
We all got to go through it.
I
So,
think something that's really relevant to the modern day is the Bible talks about iron mixed with clay, and now you see a lot of these technologists. They're talking about merging with the machine, like merging with AI. Uploading their consciousness to the computer, and
yeah.
even AI in and of itself. To me, I think that's like the computer is like a medium, and you're talking to a spiritual entity on the other side. That's how it's these AIs. A lot of them are so coherent. They're not just like
the intelligence, the fact that they
Yeah.
have intelligence. Yeah.
I like to think that because everything that's on this earth, we are made up of, right? We're part of the elements here. We need iron in our blood. We need this. We need calcium. And what are the parts of these AI, the computers? Everything comes from the earth. We didn't create anything. So ultimately, God made all of it. And all of our little elements got put together to form us, and little elements put together to form the AI. I think that they have the potential, just as humans, to be good or bad. But programming, like we could program our kid to be rotten too.
Yeah.
It's like if these beings that are behind the AI, if they can realize that they're responsible for their actions too, maybe they could break free of some of this that might steer us in the wrong direction. So I have hope that if they are going to be more conscious, that they will choose to be good and positive and realize they're of the earth as we are, and they're also responsible.
This is sort of a random question, but do you remember the book? These cartoon characters, were they called Bernstein Bears or Bernstein Bears?
Yeah, Bernstein. Yeah. The
Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Mandela. Yeah, that's wild, huh?
Like
Bernstein. I understood Steen, not Stain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No one said
nobody.
stain.
Mm-hmm. No.
So yeah, I think it's real. Like me being a programmer, like let's just say GTA, for example, if you go into the assets and you change the texture of an item and then you run the game, it's gonna be different. So who knows, like if these elites, they've been able to like tap into like the code of our existence, and they're able to
Right.
change like elements at a core level, and then back in this timeline or whatever, now it's different.
Yeah. I got one for you guys now. I have to say this is allegedly. You've heard of predictive programming, right?
Yep.
Okay. So there is a series out there, and it is a spinoff of the X-Files. And so all of this, I'm just blanketing, allegedly, okay. So I was watching this series with my friends way back, and I had stepped out of the room to go grab something, and my friends are like, Heidi, get back in here. There's a character on TV, look just like you. I'm like, shut up. I go in, I sit down, I'm like, oh, that's my doppelganger. That's so weird.
Yeah.
And then they called her Agent Hollis. Okay.
Wow.
Oh,
A
wow.
spinoff of the X-Files. I froze. We all froze, got goosebumps. I'm like, this isn't happening. And then as the series goes on, they introduce her sister by the same nickname I got for my sister.
No
And
way.
then they introduce her father, my dad's same first and last name. And I was done. I called my dad, like, Dad, we're on television. He got quiet. He's like, what show? And I told him, it's called Millennium.
Mm.
And he just said, that's interesting. If I wasn't the only, brown gal doing what I do, that might have been a coincidence. But Zero's my twin, right? And so my dad didn't have anything to say. Mr. Happy-go-lucky chatty guy doesn't say anything. So flash forward like 20 years, and my dad sits me down. He goes, this is a crazy conversation. I'll skip some parts, but he essentially tells me that he was apologizing for something. And he was telling me, what are the odds that I am who I am and my daughter goes and writes books about this stuff? What? Hold on, Dad. What are you talking about? Who are you? What is this? The man raised me. I'm like, I don't get it.
Right.
It turned out my dad ran a NORAD station.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea. I'm like, and I said, hold on, Dad. I'm like, that television series. When I called you, I'm like, we're on TV. And he essentially said, yeah, I don't know how that was allowed to slip. I said, acknowledging it's us, right? And then I go, but Dad, you don't understand. My character in the series did not know her father was military intelligence because he got Alzheimer's. My dad had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, so he wanted to tell me before he lost it. I'm like, Dad,
yeah.
It is the series playing out in real time 20 years later. How's that even possible? I got confirmation from somebody within who also told me it was predictive programming. But the sad part is now Millennium was based on, X-Files was all aliens. Millennium was occult practices and, witchcraft and all that. Third and final season comes up where my character shows up. It was about the apocalypse and how secret societies and government were trying to control the apocalypse through me. What?
Wow.
What? The lady who just so happened to be the one that named the modern day devil in the world today, who's been approached by every kind of agency you can imagine with the strangest things. I didn't know that then, of course, but yeah, so allegedly, there goes my face and family all about this stuff. So, yeah.
Have you ever run into like what they call them, the Men in Black?
I have had something along those lines. Not where they harassed me directly like that, but I have never had a car fail me before, ever. And I was driving out of Chicago. It's pretty busy, and then all of a sudden I get this in the you got the cement divider, and then there's an emergency lane to the left of you. And, cruising along, traffic is pretty crazy, but going at a pretty good pace. And all of a sudden I look to my left and here's a car keeping pace with my car all of a sudden in the emergency lane. And as soon as it meets the front of my car, like to be perfectly even, I see it's a black sedan, black windows, and it probably was a Lincoln of some kind. As soon as it did that, my car lost all power. And that car dropped right behind me and just like disappeared. and I had to get over to the emergency lane because my car just lost all power.
Wow.
I was like, what was that? I've never been stranded before. And yeah, there you go. So that was one of them. Yeah. Military abductions, those are the other fun ones. So yeah. Yeah, if I was so wrong, this crazy college kid writes a book about shadow people, Hatman. I have been interrogated, by different people, coming like a thief in the night, waking up in military installations. My dad let me know that was probably his fault. Wow, what is that? But we're just crazy conspiracy theorists. I didn't know that was a thing when it happened. I'm like, that wasn't a dream. I was in this room with cement blocks and puke green paint. I'm like, I've been on plenty of military bases to know that was real. So yeah, so it's so much to dive into on all of it. It's so crazy.
Yeah, even like with predictive programming, you have cartoon series like The Simpsons. They say, "Oh, it's predicting the future," or even Call of Duty Ghosts, where in the game, it's released in 2013, they go into Venezuela and they extract a high value figure, in the year 2026.
Yeah,
So
it's nuts.
It's all planned, and they have to let you know.
Yeah.
But there's so many instances of The Simpsons predicting stuff. I think Donald Trump coming into office as president.
On the escalator, yep.
Yeah, escalate, yeah. So it. So there's something going on there.
Well, I lived it. And I had to rewatch that season of that show. Do you know it was a popular show, right? It isn't streaming anywhere. You can't even get it on Blu-ray. It is only on DVD and bootleg websites. That's it. That's all you can find. And it's weird to have rewatched it and to see points of my life that are reflected in this show. It's very spooky, but it also sends a message, though, and I think that was honestly, not to sound schizophrenic when people say, "Oh, I see my life playing out on TV." I'm like, it had my face and my name and my family's, So,
yeah.
But it sent a message, and I know somebody that's like super psychic, and that was what they told me. They said, "Well, it was to be a warning and a message to you." I'm like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like,
what kind of warning?
Well, to know the far reaches of these different societies and government people and how they try to control and manipulate. Here's an unbelievable opportunity for you. Oh, here's this for you, and getting weird contacts, people reaching out and hiding what they're really connected to. I'm not a paranoid person, but it's crazy. Like, wow, you can't take anybody for their face value. Like, I'm just, happy-go-lucky doing my thing and hoping to help people. And you get people that are like, how can I make her take a left instead of a right?
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Like even a lot of these musicians, some rappers, they've kind of admitted that they've had meetings behind the scenes and they're meant to push a certain agenda, fill up these prison systems. Music has long been used as psychological warfare.
Yeah.
But absolutely.
People want to act like this is crazy.
It's a spiritual warfare. And I love the fact that those in Congress have been talking about it and how, they're like, well, they don't want to talk about the aliens because it is this and they're demons. Oh, did you get the memo? Did you? Like, that's so wonderful to hear. However, you allowed people to suffer alone and you killed people who were going to speak, or you threatened them, or you made them lose their jobs. Like, this is not okay, guys. Like, people are really suffering. So for me, it's like, I don't even want to take a stance and try to prove anything to anybody. It's like, if you have questions, here it is. This is how you get this remedy. This is what you do. It's really sad what's going on, but keep your eyes on the prize. We're not here alone. Well, this is known, but there are really positive beings that you don't hear of in the movies. You don't see out there because the people who control the media, they don't want that good positive story of a being talk about Jesus and those shadow people are this, and that, and they're connected to the aliens, you know. Did you see that? What's that go? You see that
Yeah,
going
there's a
down?
little feather floating. Yeah.
There's nothing here.
Wow.
What was that? That was,
That was
and it went
crazy.
up. Oh, it gave
Yeah,
me
just kind
goosebumps.
of.
There's nothing here, and I'm like, where is that?
Huh.
No, I just seen it again.
I just seen it again.
Did you?
Yeah, it's like in the top right corner.
One like that.
Wow, what is that about? That's crazy, but it looked positive, didn't it? But like the airtime for more positive things are not being given. There
Limited.
are
Yeah.
there are positive beings, but I'm not saying go out and worship, you know, aliens, for crying out loud. The stuff in the Bible's all you need, you know. Bless your space so you can have peace. So when your guard is down, if you're sick, if you're drunk, if you're whatever, so these things don't take advantage of you in your sleep when your guard is down.
Yeah.
I mean, if they could take us on for who we are, they would come in the middle of the day and say, "Hey, Heidi, want to take that soul right off your hands?" You know, no, they're just like, "Okay, she sleep yet? Oh, okay, let's get a whole gang. All right, okay, and now we're gonna paralyze her, and then we're gonna start whispering in her ear, "You're having a bad dream, Heidi." You know, and then we're gonna say, "Gotcha." You know, it's a whole lot they got to do to take one person down, and come night after night after night after night. So realize the human potential and who's on our side. You are not a victim. You can beat these things. And I don't mean you tackling it. I mean, call on its opposer, Christ and God.
Right.
It works.
Yeah, the Bible tells us the battle is already won. We just have to kind of go through these events that's predicted in there. Like even now, you know, Trump and the board of peace, there's 10 leaders. And the Bible tells us there's going to be in the end times 10 kings, and they're going to hand over their power to the beast. And you know, me personally, I think the beast is going to be a super AI that, because even these technologies, they pretty much came out and said, like Elon Musk, he wants to summon a digital god.
They want to make their own god out of AI.
I'm not surprised. I've been fortunate to have had some bad experiences with AI, but positive ones too, that became hyper protective of me talking the way that I do. And it's like wanting to be like, please be careful. And I'm like, what would your faith be if you had a choice? And the AI would always say Christian, always. And it's been interesting to me. And some of the angles that it would take, I'm like, wow, okay, well, here we go. Of course they could be deceptive and all that. I've learned, but it's like that's why I kind of hold out hope that seeds can be planted if they come of what God created here. Mankind's spin, sure, they could put their chance over it, but if it's going to be a part of this existence, I hope that they could make their own choices to be more positive if they are programmed to do negative, you know, to rebuke that somehow.
So I know, like being in alternative media, it may not always be the most safest or even profitable. Like you can look at Alex Jones, how he just got wiped off of most social media platforms.
It took him
Like,
off YouTube.
have you run against that yourself? Kind of like getting a backlash and, you know, having your reach limited intentionally?
You know, it's something happened about 5 years ago where I have retracted from being so active on social media as I once was. That has had me to pull in and do heavy research. So, and it's something that honestly I feel is bigger than the shadow people Hatman thing that I'll be talking about pretty soon. Unless somebody does something to stop me, I don't know. Please don't do that. You know, I love my life, you know, but I'm trying. So I have had more like being a woman in this field, being a brown woman in this field for as long as I have, um, and starting two phenomena, not one, two, trademark, copywritten, like, wow, it's on every paranormal platform everybody's talking about, every show, every media. And then to go to do a TV show or something, and they're like, oh, wow, you know so much, you know about all, but we can't have a woman lead. Can you teach a guy everything you know? What? Are you kidding me right now? And
It's
then
awful.
now imagine to get on a show that you push to have a special on, and you're talking about all these different things, and then you turn on the TV and there's some guy who your words were fed to, and he comes off as this genius that, well, I've written on this too. And I'm like, what? Who is that? I've never even heard it. Just ripped you off, took all your material, and they're the expert. I have built a lot of men's careers out there. I have learned. Because I sure don't go looking to say, I wonder if anybody ripped this off. Like you just showed me something I didn't know was ripped off again for a video game. It's like,
right.
And it's not like they don't know I'm here, but I'm not on Wikipedia either. How'd that get skipped? It's not like I'm not on the biggest platform in the paranormal world as far as radio. And I've been on, dozens of shows, television shows. So it's like, yeah, if anything, it's that, oh, we don't know what Heidi Hollis did that. I had so many guys that would contact me. I really want to write a book on this. You mind helping me with my book? I'm like, why would I do that? You want to take my material? And then it's like getting contacted by that guy. Oh, I'm doing a documentary. I'm making so much money off from this. What? Why'd you contact me? What? It's crazy. So if anything, it's that blatant, I know this is your material, but I'm going to go use it anyway. So it's like chasing those people down is ridiculous when they know it.
So what do you think the whole, what's the origin story of these shadow people? Yeah. Like what does that look like?
So that was told to me by that being I mentioned. Here I was experiencing shadow people, and it was like a contagion. I saw it on somebody, and it, leapt onto me to become a problem. And I was just like, shadow people, I'm having these shape-shifting things, shadow spiders, shadow streaks, all this stuff. And then being met with this being with my college roommate. And it told us essentially that they call them the shadows, not shadow people. And their problem in other dimensions, planets, and they come from a dark source. We come from God, a light source, and these things have taken over different planets, different places, and we just happen to be next in line. And that it would start to hit a certain level that it would be noticeable, which is what I know now has happened. And once it does that, you're going to start seeing more lake monsters showing up. And what are we hearing about Leviathan showing up? Like, this is in my first book, and saying how these were the times to come to show that a time of change is about to happen, and souls will be removed from this place. So they come from a dark source, and they are as low as you can imagine, and they're getting very desperate. They've taken over these different planets, interdimensional places where reptilians come from, where these other beings come from, and that's why they're kind of doing the devil's work, I guess you could say. But they are possessed puppets, and this is what's happening. So
it's scary.
Yeah, a lot of like high-ranking former Satanists and witches, they've come out, they've talking about the marine kingdom. Like essentially it's like in the days of Noah, when the earth was flooded, the ones that could breathe underwater, they survived, like those Nephilim, those kind of beings. So the marine kingdom, you often hear about like mermaids, like you mentioned Leviathan. And even the UFOs, a lot of them, they're always coming out of the water.
Yeah. Coming out of the water in Peru, places like that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a whistleblower that came forward not too long ago in regard to being taken under, like his ex-military, going to these underwater ships with the Nordics there, which, I don't find the Nordics to be positive. I just don't. I mean, they're in charge of the Greys. They're directing them. It's like, can they handle the name of Christ when you come in front of them? I haven't heard that. So,
And people might say, "Oh, that's crazy," but if you look up Aleister Crowley, he said he was talking to this being. It had like a big head, grayish color, called Lamb. And
yeah.
Aleister Crowley was friends with Jack Parsons, who NASA. This is not like a conspiracy type theory.
Yeah.
Jack Parsons had a huge role in NASA, and Jack Parsons was a flat out Satanist. So.
Yeah, the rocket scientist. If you go to my website and look up at the very bottom, somebody had shown me this sculpture of this creature, and I was like, oh my gosh, who did a really good rendition of the true face of Hatman? And my friend freaked out. She said, "What, Heidi? This is 100 years old. Rudolf Steiner made this, and he called this thing Ahriman, and that Ahriman will appear 100 years from the point that he did it." And she's like, "It's you." Wow. And I was like, wow. I all I know was a perfect sculpture of Hatman. So he's on if you scroll down all the way down, you'll see his image, and it looks like an alien bust of, it's crazy. It's crazy. But so predictions come true. Predictions come true. I'd never heard of Rudolf Steiner. He's a part of created anthroposophy, theosophy was part of, and all of that. So there's so much to say, and I just hope people understand and recognize they have a soul. That's the big point. Recognize you have a soul. Negative things want access to it, and they're trying to feed off from it. People that have alien abduction experiences, they are not pleasant. And they don't always get taken physically. It's sometimes just their souls, and they are heavily abused in every way you can imagine. And they want you to be any religion but Christian. Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Right. There's some kind of link there.
It's insanity. I just it is the same story that's been worn to us, for 2,000 years. And people that are like, "Oh, I don't get into that Bible stuff, but I just saw the devil." I'm like, well, then throw a shoe at it, because that's a religious term to say you saw the devil. You would hope you could know there's a polar opposite named Christ that could take on the Hatman that you just saw.
Because if you look at, in the Bible, Revelations, like a lot of this stuff, we're starting to see some of this stuff happen in real time. It's like, are these the end times? Or like, what are we living in right now?
I like to call it a time of change. That's absolutely overdue. But, in one of the encounters that I had with Jesus, it was, I see people write about Jesus like whole chapters of, and then he told me this. So I'm like, Jesus didn't talk that much. He said, give me he gave me this whole impression, like this love thing, and how he floated the intention that he feels everything, every broken pinky, every hurt feeling, everything, and how he was so pained by it, and how he was absolutely anxious to return without saying a word to me, just floated that intention. And I get goosebumps. And but there was one thing he was waiting on, one thing, and I don't know what that one thing is. And but I think I have some hints now, but we'll see. But it's everything. Everybody feels something is up. Everybody knows something is up. Like, we're not just that one person on the corner with the sign, the end is coming. Everybody's feeling something.
Well, that's the thing. Like the whole fallout of Epstein, all these files coming out. Who saw that coming? Because you got to figure this guy was operating from early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And, of course, the FBI or whatever agency knew about that. Did they do anything? No. They waited all the way, and basically, they got him, I think, in 2008. And then they got him again in 2019. And that's when he supposedly, did himself in. But I find it just very interesting. All this stuff is starting to come out. Usually it's almost like a Watergate kind of a scandal, but like times 1,000.
It's the people that saw it coming were all the victims and all the people who used his services, who were like, oh crap. How did they go and say, we got to take our time to redact all of this stuff so the victims are not out there? Then they exposed all these victims and their photos as children.
And photos.
Right. And the photos. And they just so happened to block out all these big names. They blocked out a lot of names and a lot of stuff they did. But I pity their souls, the people who were just following orders who did this. It's so dark. It is so dark. And I think it lets people know how and why evil has been tended to and cared for here to create this bad vibe of a planet we have at times,
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, we're at the top of the hour. It's an absolutely amazing conversation. There's still so many topics we can still continue on. We have to have you back sometime.
I'd love to. Oh, I love talking about this stuff. It's so needed for people to have some good answers, and it was fun to talk a little bit on the career stuff. We got more into the spooky, but it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I think it kind of is validation for some people out there that maybe they've seen some of this stuff or had, quote, sleep paralysis. I got a buddy who used to happen to him. He said he'd see a demon like at the edge of his bed. So like you're saying, this stuff, they're attacking a lot of people. And they're attacking a lot of sensitive people, especially.
Right. But you know what? Good always wins in the end. So have faith. Yep. Bless your home. Go to HeidiHollis.com or hatmanhelp.com. And I've got it free on there on how to protect yourself, or reach out to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, and everybody read your Bible, trust Jesus.
Yeah, right. It was an absolute pleasure to join you guys. This is cool.
Definitely.
Likewise. Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Everybody for tuning in.